Hello and welcome to another dispatch from GI Joburg, your weekly dose of three South Africans talking about their favorite toy line, the best toy line in the world, the GI Joe toy line. My name is Steve. I've got two buddies with me, lifelong friends. The first of them is Paul.
Hi, everybody.
And the second of them is Rob.
Hey, everybody, how's it going?
And that's not exactly in chronological order. I mean, obviously, I met
No.
you first, Roberts, and Paul was the
It's true.
interloper.
Yes, I love being called an interloper. Please do it
He
again.
loped right in there.
But
I
you're both
loped right in.
a joint first place in my heart.
Aww.
Likewise.
Anyways.
bud.
Happy long weekend. Hopefully you had one. And happy Easter if you observe it. It's been
Yeah, thank
Easter
you,
this
dude.
past weekend. Did anyone get some eggs?
As in like ones that I bought for myself. Yeah, totally. I bought some Easter eggies
Yeah,
and some hot
I'm
cross
not
buns
talking
for the
about your
house.
girlfriend ovulating, dude.
No, man. Like, no, but I didn't get any like Easter eggs specifically. You know, like, yeah.
I
It's
didn't
weird,
have any Easter eggs, but we had it was actually today the 17th. Well, still in South Africa is my mother's birthday. And
Happy
she
birthday.
decided, strangely enough,
Mrs. Lemmer.
that she would like to make lunch for us and make food that we would want to have. And I was just like, okay, that sounds good. I'll have a steak.
I want a hot dog. I want a hot dog.
I
How
haven't
long's
had
it been,
steak.
Rob?
Oh god, I can't even remember. It's been at least 3 or 4 years, I think, since I had a steak. She made
What?
an
Are you shitting
amazing
me?
rump steak. I just where do I eat steak? We don't eat steak at home. My grand, we microwave our meals and that's it. There's no microwave steaks as far as I know.
You're gonna start growing tentacles, dude.
You have been offered. People have been like, can we send you a steak somehow? Like, is there a way of my USing a steak to you, Rob? But yes, I'm glad you
Uber
finally
Eats
broke your
steaks.
fast, man. That's
Hell yeah,
very
dude!
festive.
It was absolutely amazing. Roast potatoes. There's beans. There was a butternut. It was a fantastic Easter / mother's birthday lunch. And yeah, we had a really good time. It was nice to hang out with them. Spoke with my uncle in Johannesburg, in New Zealand, a little bit further away. Just a little bit. Yeah. So overall, I think it was a good Easter weekend. I had a couple of Easter eggs, not too many. But I'm hoping once the sale goes down, I'm gonna get a whole bunch.
Although,
Discounted Easter eggs. Yep. it's a thing.
on an aside, I actually read a news article. It was on Thursday that said that you are too late if you wish to get Easter eggs because all of the marshmallow Easter eggs, which we are in South Africa are very familiar with, have sold out. The beacon ones are sold out. Everybody's like pretty much sold out, and if you're lucky, you might be able to find the Cadbury's ones.
So that's
In,
actually a thing because my mother was like she couldn't find them.
Yeah,
I thought
they
it was
were-
just like an issue, like she just wasn't looking hard enough.
Yeah, because I mean that's what you expect from parents. But no, seriously, it's like it's a thing, right? Because here's the whole thing. Last year in 2021, they actually had overstock. They had produced too many eggs, and
There was tons, dude. I think I bought at least 3 boxes of that stuff last year.
yeah, and exactly right. And due to the pandemic and people not going shopping in like these family units, most people, they reckon that because the kids weren't with them, they weren't like press ganged into buying Easter eggs, so they didn't do well last year. So they actually produced lower numbers this year, and that's the problem.
Supply and demand. Well, I don't
Fascinating.
think marshmallow Easter eggs are quite as big in Australia. For
I don't
whatever
think
reason,
so.
like, yeah, maybe it's a South African thing, maybe it's just not an Australian thing, but they haven't been as ubiquitous here as they are back home. Like, I just remember
Marshmallow
that being, well, it's cheap and cheerful and they come in a strip. It's basically
Yeah.
like a lump
or a
of
box of
marshmallow.
30.
That too. Cheapers. Yeah, man. I haven't had those in ages. They're so crappy, but they're so good.
It
They
feels
are
so
actually.
South African, actually, now that you say that apparently it's not available anywhere else. So it's
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah.
a South African
they-
tradition.
They even emulate the yolk, which always kind of like grossed me out as a child. Like, you got this marshmallow, this two-tone marshmallow with a yellow like inner core. Weird, man.
Did you
Anyways,
guys ever used
enough
to?
bloody Easter egg talk.
Well, I was gonna ask, like, did you guys ever peel off the chocolate and then peel off the white stuff and
Oh yeah,
then
I always did that. Yeah,
I used
you
to,
gotta eat
like,
layers. Gotta eat in
yeah,
layers.
it was
What, did you
great. And
throw the yolk away, Paul?
no, I ate it. I love
the
egg
worst
yolk,
part, the
actually.
yolk.
No, it's the best part of the egg. Um,
Oh, bizarre.
but
Thanks for the reminder, Rob. I mean, Easter hasn't played a role for me in the past 2 years, but this year, thanks to my parents being here, we did the whole 9 yards, man. The Sunday roast, plus
Oh,
Easter
fantastic.
eggs, decorating the table. It was Elliot's first Easter. He was very festive. He had some Easter bunny ears.
Oh,
Lovely, lovely stuff. But I'm still in the pool room because even though my parents leave today, my sister arrives on Friday, so I can't move back into the spare room. So yeah, roughing it for another 2 weeks.
oh, nice one.
But it's been a hell of a weekend. We made a break for my parents' last weekend here to the island just across the bay. It's a 20-minute ferry ride, and my goodness, it's another world. Like the
Magnetic
beach,
Island
Magnetic Island. The
or Magnet
beaches in
Island. Oh, yeah,
Townsville are, I mean, to be fair, they're pretty poor in all the ways that I rate a beach. Like, it's pretty and the amenities are great. Their playgrounds like every couple of 100 meters, and coffee shops and ice creams and restaurants and whatnot. All those things are there, but the beach itself, cuck. The sand is cuck, the water's cuck. Like, it's just, and it's full of stingers, man. Like, you can't
Yeah.
swim without being in like
Oh,
a
you
kind
mean
of a netted.
jellyfish?
Yeah, stingers,
Yeah.
mate.
Thing is,
You can't swim without a netted enclosure, so
Stingy
that's no fun. But across the bay, it's tropical paradise with crystal clear water, beautiful sand, no nets. Well, some nets, but like most of these bays are pretty enclosed with strong currents on the outside of them, so we're assured that we can't get jellyfish stings. But I saw a few people in their stinger suits, which is always disconcerting. It's like basically a giant body condom that covers you head to toe. Woohoo! Have fun, kids. Not only are you protected against UV, but like protected against ever looking cool in your swimsuit ever again.
That's why everyone just ends up sitting in the restaurants next to the beach and looking at them because they really don't want to
Oh.
wear those condoms.
Well, another reason why you sit at the restaurant looking at the beach is because, like, you put in an order for like a meal, you might get it 2 hours later. So you're just trapped, man. You're trapped there, knocking back beers. What a tough gig.
Oof.
And I
Sounds
mean, I
terrible.
might as well mention it while it's germane. This weekend, in terms of new shit, I got me a Deep Six version
way.
3. I'm gonna say Eco Warriors Deep Six, and he
Nice.
accompanied me on my island sojourn.
I saw that on the Instagram actually,
Oh, he's
Yeah.
definitely safe against
and I
stingers.
couldn't resist commenting. So
Sipping a beer down by, well, this is just off the beach. This is like a little resort. But anyways, oh, what a tough life I have, guys. Jeez.
it's so rough, man.
So difficult. I don't know how you manage.
Yeah. All right, criminals. The topic of this podcast is something that I think you came up with, Paul. You wanted to discuss toys that found their way into your collection that you were kind of lukewarm about. And in the time since getting it to now, you have learned to love. Like, not just like. These are like excellent toys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
that
do.
got the wheels spinning in my head, man, because it's not something that's immediately apparent to me. Because the things that I dislike, I still dislike, and they begrudgingly sit in my collection. And the things that I love, I always loved, even when I only loved them on pictures on the internet. I was like, wow, that looks incredible. And then you get it and you're like, wow, that is incredible.
Well, because that's the problem when, well, not the problem, but like when everything is so far away from you and you are ordering these things specifically, you are homing in on the things that you've always wanted specifically, you know?
Yeah.
And even, I think even if maybe they do turn out to be a little bit disappointing when you get them, just the effort of getting them kind of adds to the, like, I really do like this.
I'm gonna wager that there are gonna be a lot of stories coming out of all of us of accidental purchases or things that were kind of slipped in as extras, stuff like that, stuff that we wouldn't have sought out independently. Like, this is a kindness that someone has done us, and we've been like, Thanks. And then one day the worm turns and you're like, what this is so cool. How did I live without this? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I anticipate a few of those tales. We're not going to spin the wheel of names.
Oh
Forget
my
that noise.
goodness.
We're
Yeah.
just going to go for it, man.
Whew.
I guess I'll open my account with a little thing called the Submersible High Speed Attack and Reconnaissance Craft, the
Wow.
Shark from
You,
1984.
there was a time you didn't like this?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Like, I never made it a priority. I thought it looked strange. The the driver, the occupant, the pilot, um, had to lie
down.
face down, and it
Mm.
was an awkward, unarticulated figure. There was just a lot wrong with this vehicle, and I'm sure our old buddy JD Onesie, who's a big fan of the Shark, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, would back me up by saying like it's weird in ways, but it is the first flying submersible of the GI Joe line, and by combining those two things, the ability to take to the air and zip around like a jet, and then plunge into the depths and zip around like a submersible jet, just gave this toy two dimensions of play for the price of one. And you know me, guys, I love playing with toys underwater. And there's that transitionary moment as a toy kind of enters the water from the air that is just so exhilarating. I love that. Love, love, love that. So the Shark, it became not only just like something that I started liking, it became for a time a firm favorite. Like, it was the toy for me. Every time I went into the swimming pool, that came with me. The Shark entered my collection by accident. I was buying a snowcat. Yes, a snowcat, because I was in the United States, right? And it was snowing, and I needed a snowcat. And I'm like, this is an excellent vehicle. This is a snow vehicle. This is a vehicle I don't have yet. Let me get it. The cheapest way to get it at the time on eBay happened to come in a lot. The lot had a few other things: a Fun School Imp mint in box, and also a Cobra Wave Crusher, which is the evil variant of the Shark. Came out in the early 2000s, the GI Joe A Real American Hero line.
Mm.
And that strange blue dusted with gold toy, kind of, I made it, I built it, stickered it, and then just left it on the shelf, left it in obscurity for the rest of that trip. But when I got back to South Africa and I started returning to summer, jumping into the swimming pool, this thing accompanied me, and that love was born. So yeah, my first item to open my account would be the Shark. Mm.
I always
How about
thought
you,
you
Paul?
liked it from the beginning.
No,
I'm
not
gonna
at all.
start with this is in no means like a chronological thing for me, so I'm just gonna start with the first one that comes to mind. The Devil Dustbin, the Pogo.
Pogo.
So the Pogo was always like kind of this obscure thing. It just kind of existed in the video game, and in the video game, I didn't think it was like the best vehicle either. I mean, to be fair, it's not really like the best vehicle ever, and I didn't really recognize it as the Pogo until I think you finish it, and then you see that it's called the Pogo or something like that. But I didn't care much about it, and my friends at the time, David and Jeff, they didn't speak very highly of it. So I was like, okay, whatever's. And then they did that, the Star Brigade, I think it's called the Invader, Cobra Invader.
Mm.
And I didn't think much of that either. And I don't know. I seem to recall seeing them on shelves here in South Africa, but I could also just be imagining that, because I never like felt the urge to purchase one or whatever. And then fast forward into the future, I sort of started seeing pictures of it in its original colors, in the red color, and I was like, okay, this is actually kind of interesting. It's not something I'm going to go out of my way and buy and whatever's, but it is something I've kind of built a fondness for. And then Jim Godfrey, of all people, actually surprised me with one. And it's the strangest thing. Once I'd unboxed it and actually had the toy in my hands and felt that sort of model kit-esque quality to it, and really got into the hokiness of it, it just all came together. And I
Don't
think
try bouncing it around.
no, that's the other thing. And then I'm struggling to remember now with my memory if I got my Pogo before or after the Defiant. But I know for a fact that you getting the Defiant, Steve, has a lot to do with me liking the Pogo as well, because now all of a sudden it has like a purpose, in a lot of ways. As we've, debated
For a
in
second, you had me
episodes past.
going there, Paul. You got it Defiant? So that means
No,
GI
I
Joburg
wish.
has 2 Defiants?
No, God, no. I can't afford one of those. But I shouldn't say things like that. Then it means that I'll never afford one if I keep saying it. But anyway, the thing is, I got a Pogo and I love my Pogo, and it's such a great little toy. And there's actually a boxed one that's for sale on a local seller's site on Bid or Buy, from Mr. Withers. And I mean, if I didn't have one, I would definitely not. I wouldn't say I would definitely click to buy it, but having one makes me double take on it every time I see that listing. I keep looking at it, going, "Oh yeah, I want one of those. Oh wait, I got one. Yeah." Like
Don't have a
it's one of
box
those
one,
weird
though.
feelings. Like you're. Although mine's got a box. I've got the box. Jim sent me the box and the manual and everything. I've got alles, dude. So it's lekker. Like and I've also got the best driver for it, which is Battle Armor Cobra Commander. And yeah. Anyway, so that's a toy that definitely grew on me. It's definitely something I had like absolutely no interest in it as a kid, and I think a lot of people still don't have interest in the Pogo, but it's got a sweet place in my heart.
But it's
And
got
you,
that
Rob?
sweet omnidirectional firepower that goes through walls and through ceilings and has the best jump. I'm, of
So
course, referring
cute.
to its appearance in the Nintendo game. But yes,
And it
Rob,
kills.
continue, my man.
Love it so much. So kind of, I suppose, in line with Stephen in a way, thinking about the ocean. But when we started collecting modern era figures, I think we basically just tried to get all of them. Or, I mean, they came in like packs. So you ended up with a bunch of figures. And we kind of split them, I think, as best we could. But a figure that I ended up with that I wasn't, I think, totally enamored with was Shipwreck from the original Shipwreck from the modern era. Which in researching him on Yojo, apparently isn't even the original version of him that came out in the modern era. Because apparently there's versions of him with a belt
Blade
buckle that
pants.
has like a thing on it and
Shark tattoo.
like a shark tattoo. And yeah, I think later versions of this character also turned out a lot better as well. Like his face, it's weird. Like one half of his face is like a little bit melty. It's it's like they squashed together two halves of a mold, and they're like, okay, this is
That's
gonna
good.
have to work. That's good enough. Because also to me, like Shipwreck, I think because I didn't grow up with the cartoon, he wasn't necessarily like the coolest character ever, and he feels like he sticks out because he's in this sailor uniform. He doesn't feel, to me at least at the time, like he was part of the Joes, and he has a parrot, and the parrot talks, and it's not as cool as Spirit's Freedom.
Freedom.
But then after getting into the cartoons, because I got into the cartoons exceptionally late, I started to appreciate Shipwreck a lot more, and he's actually one of my more favorite modern era figures. And he comes with like proper. I mean, he comes with poly. He looks the way he does as the vintage figure. And he comes with a little shotgun. His little gun is like, okay, it's fine. And he comes with a pistol. And thankfully, compared to most modern era figures, his pistol is holstered on the right hand side. I'm sure Stephen appreciates that.
Oh, rejoice. Well,
enormously.
it can't holster on the left because his left hand is closed. It's a fist.
Well, he can hold a gun in it. He can definitely hold that gun.
No, his
But
other
it
hand,
looks
though.
more closed.
No, Rob.
Oh.
I modified your Shipwreck. I don't know if you recall. He's got
Yeah.
custom hands.
I totally forgot about that.
Yep.
His
Wow,
hands
you
come
actually
from
made this figure even better than he
His
originally
hands come from
was.
Pursuit of Cobra Snake Eyes, I think. Hence, it's got the up-down motion and the left-right motion for the
Holy
wrists.
shit, I totally
Mhm.
forgot about that. That's probably also another reason why he became a little bit better, to me at least, because he can actually hold all his freaking guns. God damn it! I didn't even notice it on the pictures I was looking at on Yojo.
There
But
you go.
yeah. So over time, watching the cartoons, I've come to appreciate him as one of my more nicer modern era figures. I think they capture the original spirit of the character very well. And there's another later version I think of him, but it's not too terribly much better than this version. Yeah, so I think Shipwreck, Modern Era
I'm
Shipwreck,
with
the
you
original
there,
is
Rob.
really nice.
I I always passed up buying Shipwreck when he was available on shelves or pegs. Um, but I had seen, I think I had memories of seeing his introduction to the animated series, but that
Mm.
just didn't sell it to me yet. The penny only dropped much later when I realized like he is the Han Solo of the GI Joe universe
Yeah,
because he didn't drink the Kool-Aid. He's not there because he's the best of the best of the best, sir. He's like
With honors.
the eternal. Very good. With honors and a slap. Um, he's there because he's the eternal skeptic. He's our voice, you know, and that makes him cool. He's like,
yeah.
yeah, okay, I'll get it done, but I'm not gonna do it your way. He's unconventional, and you
I'm
need
gonna
that.
get dressed in an outfit with snake eyes, and we're gonna do song and dance.
Exactly. In this straight-laced world of like strict military discipline, Shipwreck is an absolute breath of fresh sea air. Yeah, thanks for that, Robbie.
Yeah, that's a fantastic figure, really. So,
My
Stephen,
next
what
one,
else?
well, it's going to stay in the 25th anniversary era because funny you should mention how we collected them. Yes, we absolutely did buy the boxed set as our
Mm.
first sinking of teeth into the 25th anniversary. We bought the GI Joe box set of 5, which was Duke, Gung Ho, Roadblock, Snake Eyes, and Scarlet, and we divvied them up. I think I got Snake Eyes and only Snake Eyes. You had Duke and Scarlet
Yeah, actually.
and Roadblock.
Yeah.
Oh. And Alistair had Gung Ho. And that was all very fine and well. I was happy to have the main Snake Man. But I tell you guys, quickly, my favor for Scarlet emerged. Because that 25th
Hey.
anniversary Scarlet, like, she gets criticism as like not being such a competent Scarlet now, but I think she still has got it, man. She's got that kind of cartoonish face. She got very lithe proportions, um, and I love the design of her. Like, yeah, it's a weird thing. A lot of people can't quite understand my my love for this figure, but I think she gets Scarlet so perfectly balanced.
Oh,
There are,
dude.
of course, shortcomings to this figure. Like,
Mm.
for instance, the diaper crotch was a big, big red flag. We were like,
Oh
what
gosh,
is
yeah.
going on? What's happened to our
There.
GI Joes? Why can't they sit properly? But you shave off basically the gray parts of her bikini, and you could get her into every possible seated pose you wanted.
Much better figure. Yeah, once you've done that.
Mm. And they would
Yeah, give it a
eventually
little
do that.
shave, a little Brazilian. It's totally better, much better.
They would eventually do that in the actual, to the actual figure mold. So they
Yeah, they
corrected
would
it
shave them for
in-house.
you.
But as I say, I don't know. She just had the right proportions. She looked feminine. She looked tough. She was very posable. She could get a 2-pistol grip. I'm currently on General Joe's review of the sort of early look of this figure, and he's got a in a perfect like what do you call that? The Weaver stance, where you're cupping the butt of the pistol with your left hand, and it's convincing, man. And it was the first time I think I'd ever seen a GI Joe figure be able to do that. And this wasn't standard across all 25th anniversary figures. In fact, it was a rarity. But because of her very slim and slender frame, she could.
Mm.
Yeah, man. Great figure.
I wish to echo that statement because
Huh.
I gotta say, whenever I want to grab a Scarlet from my modern era line to like sort of get into the action, this is the one I always come back to, and I've got all of them. With the exception of the retro
Which I
re-release modern
believe
era.
is the new Royal Highness. Like that,
Yes.
I'm curious to get one of those one day.
Yeah, that would be
Because
nice. Likewise.
she does look good. She looks a bit sort of more tactical, chunkier, perhaps. That's a terrible word, but yeah, she looks not quite as form fitting as this one. Um, but yeah, it's a functional look for Scarlet and has the right color scheme and cuts a good silhouette. So yeah, I'd be curious to try out the new retro one. Such a contradiction. New retro one. Oh. Anyway, so this was a figure that surprised me and quickly grew in my esteem to the point where, like, I didn't want to give it back to Rob.
Yeah, it's true. She's fantastic. I absolutely agree. It's a very good update to the original version.
Yeah, man. All
She
right.
makes me very happy.
Next lady for a shave. She makes you very happy, Rob. You bastard. You can keep her. The honeymoon's
My
over.
ne-
You're gonna get the queen bee next, aren't you?
So my next one is also something that it's kind of an obscure. No, it's not really obscure. It's something that I think a lot of people hate on, but I feel like over time it's a line that's just gotten so much better within GI Joe, and I'm referring to the Ninja Force. When I was a kid, and I'm sure you guys may have felt the same here to greater or lesser degree, when the Ninja Force figures came out, I don't know if David and I were terribly excited about them. We were like, "Yay, we can finally get a Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, like, the way that they're being portrayed in the comic run currently." But at the same time, it was like, "Oh, they got crappy ninja actions." And we never actually found Snake Eyes, to be honest. And so it was one of those lines where we ended up grabbing all of them between the two of us. In fact, I think David even bought some doubles because he used them for customs and whatever's. And I don't know, it was one of those, like, I got into like modern GI Joe collecting, and Ninja Force was one of those things where I was like, wow, I'd really love to see them like modernize this. And they did. They did a few attempts at modernizing the Ninja Force in the modern era line, in the form of releasing a Snake Eyes that has like that had, I think it's a mask that's very reminiscent of Dice, and then there's a Storm Shadow. No, the Storm Shadow comes with a Dice mask, and the Snake Eyes comes with a kind of a mask that looks reminiscent of Slice or something like that. And then they did a Red Ninja that kind of comes with all of the things that Slice would have, and he's kind of got a color scheme that's similar to Slice. So you could get like approximations of the figures, of those characters at least, but you couldn't get like approximations of characters like Dojo or Chabang or Nunchuck. So that was kind of like a half a win. And that is when I started getting hungry for them. And I started thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe I should actually get myself like some Ninja Force stuff. And I'm been odd about it for a very long time. And then the figure subscription service happened, and they did start releasing Slice and Dice. And I remember seeing them and sitting on BBTS wondering if I should get them, and ultimately not, because all those parts were already available to me if I just wanted to take the time to go and paint up, order one of those other Snake Eyes bodies or whatever's painted up purple and make a Dice and all that stuff. And anyway, the hunger started there, and then Q through to JoeCon, and I was hungry for Ninja Force by then. And yeah, once again, thanks to Jim Godfrey, he did an amazing custom. I'm sure many of you who are listening to our podcast, who are fans of the podcast, know about this. But he did this amazing character called Bittereinde, and he took second place in the JoeCon competition, which netted the GI Joburg crew quite a neat little voucher. So I was given the opportunity to use a little bit of that voucher to buy myself a collection of figures, and Ninja Force was it. And I gotta say, guys, I'm really loving the Ninja Force. I'm enjoying playing with those toys right now. I've got most of them out, especially because of the arrival of my Ninja Force Zartan, who I'm going to lump into this. I know maybe I'm breaking the rules a bit, but Ninja Force Zartan was kind of a non-entity. Like, whenever I saw him in Bellamo's guide, I was like, that's not Zartan. And like, like the general feeling that we all had when we've seen that figure, not all of us, but the majority of us have had. It's like, that's not Zartan. That's not my Zartan. No, 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 no. That's not even like a ninja. Da, 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 da. And then, by way of Gary V, I got a figure subscription service version of that Zartan that was gifted to me, thanks to Gary. And Gary, thank you very much, man, because it's still a cool toy. And that kind of just completed the circle in my brain. I was like, wait, hold on, you're an idiot, and started looking up this figure, and then I wanted to do artworks based on him, and then I started on this like ninja kind of old school VHS cover ninja artwork, and that Zartan is a centerpiece, and I'm like, oh dude, it totally makes sense. Like, all of this video game, this like in him just came out. It's like he works in the Ninja Gaiden universe, he works in Streets of Rage, he works in like even the Ninja Turtle like beat 'em ups, and he's just like that kind of character, and it just all of a sudden it just clicked with me, and I'm like, this Zartan, I love this Zartan, and with
But
the
does he
Zartan,
work as Zartan? You
he
citing
kind
all
of,
these like
He's good at
90s
everything
beat 'em
else.
up
yeah, he
neon
does
kind of
because
stuff.
yeah, because now this is like how he's hiding. He's disguising himself as a street thug, as a kind of ninja crime lord, and also like as a ninja, he's actually doing a pretty good job of disguising the fact that he's a ninja because he looks nothing like a ninja. And that's kind of the point, right? If you want to sneak up and kill people, maybe not look like a ninja, Just a thought. Everybody running around with your hoods and your samurai outfits, etc. at all. Anyway, but yeah, I've got to say, I love this figure. I love this Zartan, and I'm loving the Ninja Force. And yay, I'm so glad I got over that 90s dislike, or that little dislike for that era of the 90s. Although, guys, I'm not going to lie, I still hate that Snake Eyes figure. Not because of what it is, but because of what it isn't. It isn't the toy that I want it to be. And that's like the only gripe I have. But there is still something fun about squeezing its little legs and making its little ninja action work. And it's got great gear. Anyway, and that's all I will say about that.
Oh my absolute
Oh,
goodness.
Rob, this is the
Ridiculous.
part where you take the mic away from me and tell us about yours.
So I think, yeah, well, as the 90s came around, or like late 90s when we were buying toys, I think I ended up buying certain toys just because we could buy them. And often the reasons why I wanted them was just like, oh, that's a cool thing, or that, I had he's pink. That's fun. And then there
Night
was one
Viper
that
version 2.
that Pink Night Viper, fantastic. And then there's one that I really liked, and this is probably my more favored version of these characters, and that is Eel's version 2. I got him because he came with a freaking amazing shark, and sharks are cool. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the shark for these pictures, so obviously
Nobody
the
can.
shark is now not my favorite thing about him.
MIA.
It's some way. And I mean, I think originally I got him because it's just something to get. It's something new. He can go into the water. That's pretty cool. But like, there's just something about this version of the character that over time I really like. I like that it's really straightforward. He seems self-contained. Like, he doesn't have to have any extra equipment except for his
Shark.
Well, his shark and his. Well, I was gonna say slippers, but they're not called slippers, are they? They're flippers.
Flippers.
he's ready to relax in the water with his slippers. He's really straightforward, I think, and he looks evil to me, and I like that he comes with a little like cobra symbol on his arm. So yeah, from a figure that I originally just wanted because it's something to buy. It's a sealed GI Joe in packaging. It's just cool to be able to to get anything, because I feel like I got this figure a little bit later than other ones. I might even have gotten it at the Paro factory toy shop that we frequented. Either that, or I'm remembering the time where we lifted the gun from one of the figures there. Because somehow I'd lost the spear gun for this character, and we managed to find
Rob, you
another
just
one.
outed us for a 25-year-old crime. You realize?
Perfect crime.
That's
Do it
terrible.
yourself.
Well, I'm sure we bought a bunch of other stuff that day. We always, whenever we ended up at that shop, we bought a lot of stuff. And I mean, I think that if I'm pretty sure that it was already open already. I mean, I wouldn't have opened something just to be able to get a toy or to get something that I don't have.
I
I
had
can assure
forgotten
you
about
of
that. Oh my goodness, this is a topic in and of itself. Like, has anyone committed any crimes for GI Joe toys?
Well, apparently I have, yes. But it's this yellow. He's incomplete without the spear gun. He needs the spear gun. But that's the only time that I can ever remember having ever done this. And obviously I like the figure enough that I had to ensure that he was complete. He has to be complete. He can't not have that spear gun. And even though I don't own the original eels. I have seen them, and I think they're fantastic. But to me, this being my first eels, or version of the eels, it's definitely my favorite. Um, yeah, and I have to say that as well because I obviously I stole for him.
I always saw this
Oof.
as a cool robot shark that came with a diver.
Well,
But that
that's the
was
thing
me.
originally, but over time, like I started to really enjoy the figure more than the shark. I think originally the shark was a lot of fun, but the figure just continued to grow on me over time.
Mm.
Um, and it's weird. I seem to like the yellow figures.
There's a
Really?
trend.
There is a
Well,
trend. Yellow is my favorite color. Maybe I don't know. We'll
well,
see.
guys, in the stakes of toys that like I had no love for, and they entered my collection by accident, and then all of a sudden they be shot to the top of the pops. You can't get a higher top of the pops than the Tomahawk attack helicopter.
Wow.
That's a joke. No, I slipped this in just as an honorable mention because the Tomahawk was something that like I had a love for before I even knew that it existed as a toy. Saw it in the comic books and I was like,
I
that's
loved you before I
amazing.
even met you.
That's an amazing concept. I wish there was a toy of it. And then the internet came and my eyes were opened and I saw it for the first time and I was like, it's real. Oh, oh love. And now I have 3 of them. Yay!
Amazing.
Best. Now, a figure that like found its way on the kind of the leftovers list for me. Like when I was asked by MCDJ ACDC some years back, like what figures are you still pining for? I was like, well, my collection's kind of at a place where I'm happy with it. But if you must twist my rubber arm, Andrew, this is a list. Quite prominently on that list was a little lady called Jinx.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
my goodness, has she not shot to the top of the pops since getting her? I mean, she became the central character of our Bad Luck Lady series, which gave me a lot of time, hands-on time with this action figure. She's so fine. You know, she doesn't do what Lady J does, which is like basically have a female figure that's taller than most of the men. Like she's actually quite petite. Which seems to be a trend with my figure selections. Like I'm going for the girls and going for the girls that are like, as I say, quite finely
Curvy.
molded. But
Hmm.
she's got a likeness to her as well, which is very appealing. She looks as she should, and the reason like she was such a slow burn for me was because obviously she's masked. She's a masked GI Joe character who is a female, so it already takes something very important for the girls off the table, which is like having a feminine face sculpt. You can't do her scenes from GI Joe the movie. She's always got to be all business in this look, which I think is part of the appeal because yeah, she's not slumming it in a base or in a training montage or something. She is on mission in this look. She invites action and copious amounts of bloodshed in a very Kill Bill sense. So yeah, man, this figure and my time with her on Bad Luck Lady, very memorable. She became synonymous with my time in China. And yeah, so there's nostalgia linked to her. She's a great figure. She's one that I totally did not expect to love as much as I do. She even became a wedding topper on my wedding cake. Hey,
Can
bloody
confirm.
brilliant. Yeah, man. So Jinx, I didn't really order this, but maybe she's actually the number 1 sleeper hit on my list. But we'll see where we go with this. I've still got 2 more in hand. You fellas have 3 more in hand. So let's have
Oh
another one,
yeah.
Paul.
Ooh, okay. So this is a fun one. It's another thing that a lot of people are very
We'll be the judge of that.
black and white on. Um, I saw this vehicle. I'm building up to this, or should I say, I held this vehicle in my hand for the first time when we were in America, and it's one of those kind of a lot of guys give it hell, but there's just something about that toy in particular, like having it in your hands once again, that it just sings the right music to you, or sings the right songs to you, should I say, and that is the Havoc. I don't own a Havoc yet. I want a Havoc.
Hmm.
And I gotta say, dude, like, I was supremely jealous of Rob when he got one of those. Because it is a
Damn you,
really
Rob.
cool toy. I even remember when we got into the murder house. That like there's all this creepy shit, and I'm like on the table, and I've nicely put down like Rob's Havoc, and I'm like, this is so cool. Look at the detail on the treads, and like really getting into it. And it's just a cool looking. I think it's a cool looking toy, and it's also once again, it's one of those things that when I was younger in the cartoon, it's rad. It steps out. It's like, okay, it's a very hokey GI Joe vehicle, whatever's. But you kind of look at it as you as an older collector, you kind of like, yeah, that makes no sense really. Like it really doesn't. I know that we've made or attempted to make a lot of sense out of it, but yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it's a cool toy. It's a fun toy to play with, and we've gone over that ad nauseum on the channel itself. But that is a toy that has really grown on to me. That grown on me over time. Yeah, the Havoc.
Like a mold.
Havoc.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
it's like a mold.
it's, as you say, hokey as all hell. Makes very little practical sense, but you're going to battle to find a GI Joe vehicle that has more feature per square inch than the Havoc. Swiveling guns, opening hatch, gun chair, removable engine cover, the tracks that can ridiculously kind of articulate, so it can either turn
Completely
very
turn around,
tightly
Lord.
or it can strafe like diagonally. But like
So
no
great.
tank in this world has that kind of function, probably because it's very fiddly and very fragile. The hover car, I mean, why not? Just throw everything at the wall and everything sticks. In the case
Yeah.
of the Havoc, like they didn't reject any ideas. It's like, let's do it all with this toy, and they're everywhere. So Paul, I hope you get one soon, man.
Yeah, I
Put it
see
in
there's
your
a few.
sights.
I see
Do
there's
it.
a few on Dan Szymanski. He's got a few on offer there on eBay.
Quality
But
Joes.
Quality
Nice.
Joes, ladies and gentlemen. And then also just a quick note about the Havoc. Steve, you just recently did a video with your dad and with Elliot. And you guys have got the Havoc there, and it's quite a lot of fun, you guys discussing it. And it's so cute to see like little Ellie like reaching for it. There's one point where he's kind of about to stick the toy in the canopy, the driver in the canopy, and dad's like, and then Steven's like, and here's what it does. And then Elliot's like, okay, I'll put it up there then. It's very cute. And I'm like, that toy has got special toy powers, and it definitely does grow on you. And if you dislike it, it's just because you purposely resisting it. Stop resisting it. Love the Havoc. Give the Havoc some love, ladies and gentlemen. Okay,
It's
Rob, now
irresistible.
you can gloat about how I have a Havoc, and then this is the toy that's
I
grown on
definitely
me.
have a Havoc. It's fantastic. It's right in front of me, or like whenever I sit at the computer, it's right here on the shelf. So I'm always looking at it. Fantastic toy. Another fantastic toy that I didn't think I'd ever own. So we got to the States. We arrived at Kokomo Toys, and there's just like an endless selection of stuff. With me being me and not having saved up, I had a very limited amount of money to myself when I was in the States. And of course, I have to buy a scoop because I'm a scoop guy.
Scoop the fork.
But then I was like, I had to buy something else, like anything else. I think I struggled so hard to find something to get, and I ended up getting Big Boa, who I'd never, I think, in my entire life thought I'd want to own a Big Boa. He doesn't have any guns. As far as I can remember, I'd never seen him featured in any comic books I'd personally read. But I think by the end of the trip, I really appreciate this character and this figure. He is so uniquely himself. He's so different from everything else, I think, in the entire line. And they molded him perfectly. He looks like a proper huge dude. Like, it's not just like his upper torso, it's his legs. And the fact that they just went all out and just gave him boxing gloves and a Joe to punch. It's wild to me that I really like this character now and this figure. Because when I bought him, I think I bought him because I wanted something. Because I'm in Kokomo Toys, I'm in America, I need to buy something, anything.
Anything,
And
yeah.
he looked great. Like, because it had so much stuff that obviously, like, I've always pined over, but like Steven already has it in his collection. and I was like, "This, I need something that we don't own, and something different." And I was like, "Okay, I'll get Big Bo. He looks interesting and different." But yeah, by the end of the trip, and by the time I got back to South Africa, he's really amazing. Like they did a fantastic job in just making him him. Like they didn't try to add like extra guns and give him stuff that doesn't work with him as his character and who he is. He's It's just him. He's a
Great
dude
physique as
with
well.
a huge, yeah, exactly. I mean, his thighs are huge.
Yeah.
I don't think even with
His
other
dad's
characters
food.
like that are bigger, or taller, like Destro or Roadblock. I don't think they molded their thighs as big as they did with this guy. Like he looks the part. He looks like what he is. He's a boxer. He's a trainer. He's the PT instructor for Cobra. And it's so cool that they made boxing gloves for him. You can take those off, and his hands are under there. They're normal hands.
So cool.
It's
And didn't we have that feature with M Bison? No,
Balrog.
Balrog from the
Wow.
Street Fighter.
Balrog, yeah.
Yeah.
So later they brought that in
Boxer.
again. But like obviously, because they'd already done it, it was a lot easier. Yeah, and I got a very good version. His Cobra symbols on his gloves are fantastically clear.
I was about to say, Kokomo Toys really do a good job of curating their wares
Oh,
because
fantastic! Yeah,
this is a figure that often is a victim of a lot of paint rub. He's got those little points, those little silver spikes all over him.
Yeah.
That often are rubbed away. And the Cobra symbols on the gloves are always a big point of debate, of condition.
I lucked out, and I think I mean $10. I think he was as well.
Oh, wow.
A
Well, hey,
steal.
well done.
I walked out of Kokomo Toys with a brand new, brand new old scoop and a big boa, and I was like, okay, I have a boxing dude now. So what? So what, past Rob? You love this guy now.
And you well should. Yeah, excellent figure. I'm glad you like him, and I'm glad you got something at Kokomo Toys. I was sensible in that I knew I was going to JoeCon, and I knew that better deals would be had there, so I didn't buy a damn thing. But in hindsight, like the sentimental side of me wishes he bought something at Kokomo Toys.
Something, anything,
anything. Yeah, you guys had swag. I was like, I have.
I nearly bought Bucky O'Hare.
Of course. You did. There was too many options for Paul, guys. Like there was too much.
I melted down. I was like, it must return to default state. Get Storm Shadow. And Destro and the display
Amy
with
Pond
the gold
from
trimmings,
Doctor
not the
Who.
brown.
I need Amy.
Yeah. And I'm glad I did. And dude, I just something I want to add to old Big Boa there. Dustin K and Cobra Lang, when they added their features to Element X, our backyard battles, they gave him such a cool robot voice. I love his robot voice. It's so awesome. And that is forever a Big Boa's voice in my head. This like robot that's eating glass that smokes too much. I love that. It's so good. Anyway.
Well, I'm going to forever hear Joe Slepsky's Sly Stallone impersonation in one of Troy's vids in Clairvoyance, where he introduces Big Bo and he's like, yeah, oh, Big Bo, man. I don't know. I can't remember the lines, even though I scripted them. But Joe did a bloody good job, and I thank Troy for enlisting good old Joe on Joe. So yeah, man, that was pretty sweet. So yes, no offense to Dustin and to Cody. No, was it It's Corey and Cody.
Was it Corey and Cody? I keep thinking it was Dustin because of the wrestling.
Yes.
So,
nah,
yeah.
Dust has done some amazing play motions, but he wasn't involved in Element X. We'll get him. We'll get him. Mr. K. All right, but speaking of play motions, this toy entered my collection as part of a donations lot from a mate in Australia, in fact. It was incomplete, and I'd had handled the toy before and not loved it a lot because it didn't seem to work. Paul, you had one first, and then Rob got one, and every time I played with it, it just didn't... I couldn't get it to do what I wanted it to do. And then I figured out, oh, you just need to kind of rock it a little bit further forward on itself, and then it'll do exactly what you need it to do. And I I speak specifically, of course, about the Cobra Buzzball.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Featured in Renegades. That's the sound of a lawnmower, by the way. Or weed whacker.
Not only is the battle android trooper fully capable.
All right, so that's an excerpt from Slaughterhouse, or The Slaughterhouse, our episode of Renegades. Anyway, that is how a buzzball should be used, my friends. A gigantic saw blade for just laying waste to infantry. That's what it does. It's not meant to burrow under the ground. It is a gigantic lawnmower for action figures. Was it funny, Rob? T T T.
It's fantastic. Oh god. You definitely I think sold that vehicle in that
Thank you.
shot.
Yes, and I realized the best way to get those saw teeth to spin freely is to not try and move it as intended along its kind of wedge base, but to rock it forward so that the blades are directly in contact with the grass or the ground or whatever, the soil. And then that red ring of cutting destruction and death will spin freely. Yeah, it doesn't lock up and look, you have to maybe disassemble it and give it a little bit of a clean, get rid of that sort of white squeaky plastic residue that might have built up from friction. But anyways, bottom line is if you get it working well, the buzzball is that kind of toy that you just vroom around your garden a couple of times. Like it's fun, man. Guys, my son is directly above my head and he's beating the floorboards. I think he can hear me. That's funny, man.
Cute. Either that or he's like, quiet, evil.
Yeah, man.
Wow. This
boy.
comment from Mark is great.
Let's have it.
Mark is
What
like,
is it for?
I bought 2 after seeing that scene.
Hey.
Marky Mark. Well, shout outs to Mark. This week he sent us the most unique gift anybody has ever sent GI Joburg. Mark
yeah?
has put together some Dio stories. But not only that,
Wow.
he has hard bound them into 2 volumes and presented them as like books. Like you're just gonna have to take my word for it right now. Like these are coffee table books of his photography, but Dio stories.
What a treat, because Mark, you can shoot some pictures, dude. Like, wow.
Beautiful. He
That's
makes
exciting.
use of varied techniques. Like it's so clever, Paul. I can't wait to share this stuff with you.
Yay.
Hopefully by October, I'll be back in sunny South Africa and we can rejoice and read some Dio stories together.
Looks at Mark.
2032 came early.
Mission success. Wink, wink.
Bravo. Well, I'm loving them at the moment, and they will make their way through the rest of the GI Joburg team.
I'm very excited for this.
I'm going to make plans for that because I want to see these. In
as
person.
excited as I am to hear what Paul loves more than he didn't when he originally got it.
Cool, man.
Let's move
Well,
the
let me
agenda
get-
along. Okay, Rob. But thank you,
like
Mark.
moving
Thank you very much.
swiftly along. Okay, so this is a really awesome character in GI Joe that I really like character, but I just don't feel like his second version, or didn't think that his second version was the coolest toy ever. I was kind of like, especially when they did a modern era in the Pursuit of Cobra line. Can you guys guess maybe which character I'm talking about? They did such a great version of him in the Pursuit of Cobra line, and it's kind of, I don't know, I feel like it almost sullied any other version of this character.
Cobra
He likes
Commando.
the dark.
Kondo. Oh,
No, he likes the
low
dark.
light.
Low
Bloody
light.
hell.
Low light
Word.
version. Technically, it's version 3 because it comes after the Slaughters Marauders version. But it's the second true, like, it's a different sculpt to the first version. So, because of the beautiful sculpt that they did for the first low light, and because of his great appearance in the movie and in the cartoon, I just really love that original style for low light. For me, it was like, don't mess with that. That is like perfect. And that made me immediately dislike low light version 2. I was like, he's got a big helmet, looks stupid, whatever, blah 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 blah. Anyway,
Chainmail.
chainmail. Fast forward to a lot that Jim sent me. Yes, this does play out a lot because I've, in GI Joburg, we have been the very fortunate recipients of a lot of people's
It
kindness.
seems like Jim particularly has been forcing stuff into your collection, like wedging it in, like,
Yeah, he's just like,
you'll love
yeah,
this."
Paulie. Yeah, no, because what happened?
That
The
was a
story
very
there
poor
is,
Jim Godfrey impersonation. Sorry, Jim.
yeah, well, it's. I mean, if you're not sounding like Jason Statham, then you're not trying. You know what I mean?
Statham. When did you
Statham.
start saying it like that? Statham?
Statham.
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 You're thinking of statins, man. Have you got a heart condition, Paul?
Huh? No? What?
Never mind.
Anyway, never mind.
Doctor speak.
And yeah, so the story is that Jim actually just got a whole bunch of these figures from a friend of his, and it's just extra stuff, and he decided to send a few my way, and they didn't have any gear or anything, and in this little goodie box was this low light version 2, and the whole character just switched on for me. It's like bing, like this is a cool character, but it's missing its gear. So I didn't have his gear for a long time, and there've been episodes of GI Joburg where Steve, you've like put a spotlight on him, and we've spoken about it, and it's kind of piqued my interest on the character a little bit more, and whatever as we've gone
Jeez, talk
through.
about bait and switch. I thought we were talking about Pursuit of Cobra. Now you switched back to 1991 Lowlight. Which one is
it's
it,
so
Paul?
sneaky. It's 1991's low light.
Bloody bastard.
But when I got all of that gear for him the other day, a few months ago, it just clicked. I was like, wow, no, this is a great toy. This is an amazing toy. Like, why have I been like such a dork and like just not really appreciated this for what it is? I've only half appreciated it, but I gotta say that Joe just is so great. The helmet is actually not that big when you have it in hand. The knife it works so well with the backpack. He's got a great gun. Oh man, low light version 3, technically 1991's low light, is an amazing toy, and I think
For many years, I
there's-
thought that the gun was a sniper rifle, but on closer inspection, that is a submachine gun with a very long extended barrel and a very like tall mount for a sight. But anyway, I guess he's getting up close and personal with that. That is low light sneaking up right up to the target and capping off some rounds.
I got this from here.
Yeah,
Anyway,
he's taken on a different role in that version.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, you got the whole face camo, and it's actually even a different character. In my mind, it's kind of almost a different character. It's like not the same guy,
He's
but-
always felt so different because his hair's completely different from every other version
and
of
his
the
face
character.
is so different. He
Even
doesn't
his
look like
beard.
Tom Berenger. Yeah,
Yeah.
If it's like hair dye, he's dyed his beard as well. That's probably boot polish that he's just like slicked himself.
Yeah.
And he's got a bit extra like on his face as well. Either that or he's got a weird like patchy growth of hair like, on his face.
But yeah, I gotta say that was the one toy. In fact, that figure is one of the sort of idea givers for this. That one of the things that sparked the idea for this conversation. I was like, yeah,
Well,
like
thank you, Lowlight version 3, and thank you, Jim Godfrey.
yay, Rob, tell us about that other special toy that has aged well for you.
That other special toy that I enjoy more. Well, once again, it comes from the modern era and it comes from a box set. This time it is the bat from the Defense of Cobra Island.
Ooh,
The original bats are so absolutely incredibly amazing, but this version, which is the modern era version, he doesn't come with any of his attachments. Which absolutely disappointed me. He comes with stuff that obviously has to do with defending Cobra Island, which is the bloody theme of the box that he came in. So he comes with like a little vine. He comes with this gun. He comes with a backpack that has like the little spores in there. But he also comes with like little parts that make him more damaged. And even though his hands still come off you, there's nothing to attach to the bloody hands. which is it's ridiculous. I thought when well, not ridiculous. I mean, I like it. I like it. He looks good. He is not as good as the original, but there's a good update. But I feel over time that I like him a lot more than I did originally, because I like that he comes with these little damaged parts, and that's a different version of the character, or at least the stuff that he comes with. So I think it's more, for me at least, over time, it's become more the I can set him up and he looks different from other bats that have come out before and after him, because I don't think there are many that do have these damaged accessories. I struggled forever to like pin down the exact version that this was, because I completely forgotten that he came in that box set.
Wow.
Because I was like, I must have gotten this. It was I specifically wanted him, and I realized no, actually, he came in a box set. And me and Steven divvied the box set up. And I got this guy. And yeah, originally I didn't like him, and over time he's become probably one of my favorites, because he is different. He comes with different things, and he's more fun because he's damaged, I think. So it's not like a top love, but like originally I really didn't like that he didn't come with all his accessories, but I like that he is a little bit different.
And his arms have got a bit of a wash on them as well. Like,
Yeah,
looks like oil has come
originally.
out of them. Yeah.
The original box set presentation was very clean, which always bugged me, because if this is the battle damaged one, why doesn't he have the same wash as the original 25th anniversary release?
Yeah.
So yes, I doctored your bat a little bit, Rob.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
This
because
is
mine
fantastic.
has. Then I'm thinking of my single carded one that's got the wash on its arms.
It's wild. There's so
it's
many different
darker.
versions of this guy. There's one with like a red faceplate. As I think that was the second modern era version. And obviously then they went into all the different colors. But this was the
The
second,
jungle one.
like
with the mini
25th
guns.
anniversary one that looks exactly the same, but he comes with damaged bits. And I think having damaged bits just makes him more interesting.
The spores, of course, and the vine are a callback to the Battle Android Troopers introduction, the comic book series.
Yeah.
Which would also serve to introduce Dr. Mindbender, or was it Dr. Brainwave? Anyway, it was basically those spores that would then knock out. Oh no, the spores made a vine that then had a pollen that it released to knock out, humans basically.
The creeper vines,
Yeah.
whatever they're called, yeah.
Well,
They did something similar in the cartoon, I think.
In the
as well.
cartoon,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
because
the
they catch the
bats weren't
roadblock.
involved in that,
Yeah.
I think.
But good figure and a different presentation of the Battle Android Trooper. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry it didn't come with all the attachments, Rob, but it's so unique.
It is what it is, and the cool thing is you can still remove the hands, so that just adds more battle damage to him. You can't replace those hands with anything else, but it just makes him more uniquely himself. And I think maybe at some point in the future I might invest in a fully modern bat. But I think
should.
I think I should, but there's too many choices. Like,
Just
do I
the
get another
regular
black
carded
one,
version.
or do I get a cool like red version? I think there's a red version. Or do I
The
want
red
the one
visor
with the cool
version-
red visor version? I mean, that looks pretty dope, I think.
It's animation accurate, I think. That's where they're going with that. But guys, this is an interesting, like, turn of events for me. Because when we debated having this topic, you guys were both very of the mindset that it was vintage only. And then I said, no, let's open the floodgates. Let's open, like, this is any toy that found its way into your collection, and you flipped on. Like, your opinion has had an uptick in. And so now the list seems more heavily weighted towards modern era figures, actually.
It's fast. I mean, you definitely helped us to see the light.
Well, I'm interested to know what your picks would have been otherwise. But like, let's continue, because I'm about to rip the roof open with my next pick. This isn't a
Damn,
toy
son.
at all, at least not in the strict sense. It was the early 2000s. It was Toys R Us in Claremont, and they were still selling Nintendo cartridges. Hey, or Famicom cartridges. And they were behind like a glass case that you had to have the store assistant unlock
Right.
for you.
Yes.
Like
That was the same in America, by the way.
But crappy old cartridges which were already like 10 or more years out of date.
I think they cost
Unbelievable.
20 Rand.
Something like that. Yeah.
If you haven't sold the thing, you got to hold on to it until you sell it.
So I couldn't believe my luck. I had been searching high and low for this game since I played it as a wee lad back at my friend Lyle's house in, I suppose, the early 90s. But yeah, in the early noughties, I found a GI Joe cartridge, and I was delighted. It had the classic picture of the card arts of Rock and Roll, Blizzard, Gridiron, Duke, Snake Eyes version 3. It had the classic Taxan box art collage, shall we say, of
What
all
was the
the
color of
playable
the?
characters.
I'm curious
The
as
color of the
to the color
cartridge.
of the plastic. Yeah.
The plastic was white. It was a white cartridge.
Okay. Cool.
And then beside the GI Joe logo, it had a 2 next to it. And I was like, I was used to these cartridges having weird like typesets and things on them because we got, these were bootlegs. These were several generations down from their original release. So I thought nothing of it. Took it
Double
home.
Dragon 7. Yeah, I know.
Exactly. I think it was a Christmas present. So on Christmas Day, I unwrapped this sucker, plugged it into my machine, and was agog. This was not GI Joe by Taxan. This was not a game that I recognized. This wasn't the game.
That one.
It started weird. It had Capcom logo. I was like, why is Stalker talking to me? Why is there a map that I can move my player along? This is not the game that I wanted. Hate it. And it just wasn't inviting. Like I was getting absolutely annihilated by the first kind of not even mid-level boss. It was just a kind of a powered up regular enemy.
Road pig.
Exactly. He kicked the shit out of me and I was done. I was like, this sucks. I want to jump in a battlecopter, which you can't do in GI Joe 2. But subsequently it grew on me to the point where I got really good at it. And I think with Nintendo games, because the difficulty spike is so high, if you get really good at a Nintendo game, all of a sudden it becomes super inviting.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where, like, if there's a pick up and play GI Joe kind of game, this is it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird because the first one is so much better. But I guess just having seen the end of this game a number of times rockets it to prominence in my eyes.
Yeah, it's like
I mean,
playing a
once
song
you've
on
got
a
Storm
guitar.
Shadow and he's powered up his plasma gun, oh man, that's fun. A ninja with a plasma rifle. Oh yes, please. Yeah, you're about to say you're playing a guitar, Paul.
Yeah, but it's like playing a guitar. It's like getting good at a song and then just being able to pick up a guitar and play that song, for example. That's how Nintendo games are. Like the better you get at them, the more
The
it
more
just feels
fun
like
they are.
you're just playing music and you can start like adding emphasis to it, and then before you know it, you've cleared a whole level without getting hit, and it's cool stuff, man. For me, it was the other way around. I got Atlantis Factor first. Like I never played the first game. I got Atlantis Factor first. That was, yeah.
Because you're weird.
But I
Different.
also bought the first GI Joe NES game from Toys R Us many years later. I think I got it in 97 or 98
Wow.
from a Toys R Us at Westgate. Because that place just had toys that were sitting there for like 15 years. And
Toys R Us. You sure it wasn't a Reggie's? I thought Toys
No,
R
it
Us only
wasn't.
came to South Africa in like 2000.
No, dude, Toys R
Or
Us is in
98.
South Africa since like 95, man.
Maybe in Joburg.
No, yeah, the
Jeez.
KTV kids, they opened them. The first one was actually the Westgate branch. And then they opened the
Wild.
Santon branch, the Benmore Gardens one. Yeah,
Mhm.
good times. Anyway, yeah, I picked that game up for like $20 and it was a gray cartridge with a white sticker and was everything there, as you mentioned. Just mine was a gray cartridge. Yeah. And then I lent it to a buddy of mine with a NES, like a knockoff Famicom that I actually did buy from Reggie's. And I just remember
Was yours
a
shaped
good-
like a PlayStation?
No, it wasn't one of those. It wasn't quite there yet. Although I have one of those. It's called a tele game station is I think was the one that I've got as well.
The Tele Game
Tele
Station.
game station, but the knockoff I had was still looks like the Famicom, and I got that. Yeah, like I said, I got it from Reggie's, and I remember just being like, this was sort of just I had just left school, to do correspondence, and I remember that one like week of just jamming and having so much fun with that game. The first year.
Correspondence learning, aka sitting in your room playing video games during school hours. You
Hell
bloody
yeah.
bastard.
Distance learning, but
Guys, I just want to bring our attention to in the chats. Mark and Gaz are debating the alternate code names that could be used if you want to recast 1991's Lowlight as a different character, and I quite like Mark's suggestion of him being called Stakeout.
Stakeout is a cool name.
And I'm not the only one. Gaz also says Stakeout is a cool code name.
Stakeout. Sorry, I'm thinking of Freeze Pop.
Thanks, gents. Thanks for keeping the chat alive. It's always fun to know that the Berg Force are out there. Paul and Rob, you both owe me your number
Oh
one
my
pick.
goodness.
I don't know if it's my number one pick, but it's definitely
Oh
the
my
last.
No
This is
particular
definitely
order.
my number one.
Yeah.
I left the best for last.
Oh,
Well,
did
then
you
we'll
say the
leave
best
you for last because you are the best.
This is such an obscure POS vehicle, actually, but I do like it. And it, in some
Man,
ways,
we had the Pogo and the Buzzball on this list.
exactly right. So might as well
I
add this
defy
guy
you
in.
to do worse.
So this vehicle, actually, if you take your time, well, not take your time, if you just sit and look at it just for a little bit and think about, strategy and a battlefield, it actually makes a heck of a lot of sense. And that vehicle is the Radar Rat. Yeah, right. It's a movable radar. It's like, and it's defensible. It's got like a little gun. Ooh. But it is such a cute little toy, and it's so fragile, but it serves a really good purpose. It's providing a radar solution in a battlefield, and that is like a super, super important thing. Like, that just makes it easier to coordinate airstrikes and to move your troops around and to, put in some other kind of silliness like, I'm using it to hack the enemy's vehicles and whatever the hell you want to throw in there. But it's grown on me as just being such a fun little toy, and it's so simple. And yeah, I remember these things being everywhere when I was a kid, and I was like, no. I looked at the pulverizer and I was like, no. Devastator, yes. Fang 2, yes. Radar Rat, still no. And then one day I saw it in a toy shop for 50 Rand. And I think that toy shop is an extension of that toy shop that you guys keep talking about in Cape Town. The toy factory or toy something.
Factory toy shop.
Factory toy shop. There we go. I think it's an extension. And I saw this thing in the window. It's the first time I ever went to Worldwear. And I just saw a Radar Rat in the window, and I was like, oh my god, like, how much is this? And the lady was like, 50 Rand. I'm like, yes, have you got more? And I kicked myself for not buying. She had 2 Battletech robots there that day as well, and I kicked myself for not buying those because those were actually quite cool. Can't even remember which ones they were. I think one of them was black. But anyway, Radar Rat has just grown on me as being one of those toys that's just, it makes sense actually, and it looks cool in a battlefield, and it's slowly grown on me, but I think the nail in the coffin was definitely the Benelux catalog.
The nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodbye, goodbye self-respect. I like the Radar Rat now.
I'm trying to remember. Okay, it was the 1991 Benelux catalog, but what was the spread? What was it being used for?
Dude, I can't remember. It was just in there, and I was just like, shit, it's there.
No, it wasn't the one with all the gyrocopters. Like, that was the RPV. Which also, like, the Benelux catalog shone a golden light on that vehicle as well. Maybe... the Arctic one with the Arctic Blast.
be.
Bloody hell. I've got it in my hard drive somewhere, so talk amongst yourselves and I'll find it.
Excellent. Yeah, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not going to go and sit here and convince everybody that you have to own a Radar Rat. It's just one of those vehicles that has just grown on me. In a toy line that has, amazing vehicles like the Bug and the Condor
Havoc.
and the Night Raven and the Havoc and the Sky Striker and the Tomahawk. It's cool to know that there's something like a Radar Rat that still fits in with that sort of military theme. It's not too crazy, not too out there, especially because in that same toy line, you've also got the Coastal Defender and the Road Toad. And, like shit like that. Like, it's kind of, yeah, the radar rat is really not the bottom of the pile, and it is actually a cool toy. Also, while I've got a little bit of airtime, this is my special mention. And this is something I didn't appreciate when I was a kid, and I totally appreciate these right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the figure stand.
Oh my
The
goodness.
vintage figure stand. Guys,
Wow.
wow. Like, I
I did
remember
not
when I was
expect to see this.
I mean, David and I used to literally just like throw these all into a bag, with the rest of the Joes. We never cared
Same.
about these things at all. It's probably why I still today have quite a few of them in various colors, because I just threw them in my box of Lego. I was like, off to the Lego pit with you. I don't need you to hand. And like, thank God I did, because I still got a few of them. But now these things are like hen's teeth. And why do I like these so much now? For all the reasons, for all the obvious reasons. It's nice to have stands to put your Joes on. It's nice to have a few different ones, because obviously they've changed the size of the foot peg, by millimeters, or like half a millimeter over time. And so it's good to have the variety on them. And also because the classified toys, and I'm so glad that after 35 classified toy releases, that Hasbro has finally decided they're going to be packing in stands for the new ones that they're releasing as new retro classified. I don't even know what the hell they're calling that line. But the bigger ones that they're releasing on the classic cards, they come with stands. Yay, thank you, Hasbro. Why can't we just have stands with the normal release? Because classifieds without stands suck. They fall all the time. They always fall. I'm literally in my studio. I've moved all the classified figures to one of my shelves in my studio, and I went to the toilet. I mean, not that I want to go into too much detail, but I closed the door, and then I heard
Earth-shattering.
it was earth-shattering for my classified figures, because I heard like a sound, and I was like, "What the hell is
Jeez,
that?
Paul, what did you eat, dude?
Yeah, no, that was. I mean, no, it was crazy. Even Celia was like, "What is that sound?" And I'm like, "Well, it's not me shooting."
Well, if she
And then I
puts
came
up with
to
you after that, it's love.
yeah,
To keep-
exactly. No, but dude, like, yeah, these classified figures need stands, and I appreciate stands so much. There we go. That's the image.
What a
The one
wild
where I hit a whole
reason
bunch
to
of
need
fireflies.
to need battle stands.
Mhm.
Just so you guys know, on my banner image that I did for GI Joe for GI Joburg when we did this episode, I hid so many fireflies in this image. I don't think people have even bothered to find them. They just looked so
Yeah.
natural. But there it is. It's just it's chilling there. It's like hey,
Mhm.
it's just so
That
simple and
is
so useful.
wild.
The occupant of your red or rat should always be backblast, right? Just
Absolutely.
gives him
And he
something
should
else
be
to
far
do.
away.
Why does he also
backblast.
make your classified collection fall over, Paul?
He
Backblast.
does with them backblast.
My dad took a
Especially
cheap
after
shot at
Taco
that guy.
Tuesday.
Well, the code name. My dad he was
Backblast.
merciless. Backblast. Backblast. Especially after some baked beans. Rob, bring us home, dude. You are the best. Here comes the best.
So yeah, I
You're
think
the best.
originally
The best. Nothing's ever gonna break it down. He's the best. The best.
oh goodness. So yeah, so back in the toy aisles as a kid, you're looking at all the cool toys. You see amazing figures. You see an amazing, cool, creepy looking insect guy with a claw on his arm, and you're like, I want that figure. Give me that guy. Frag Viper, by the way. I never owned a Frag Viper, unfortunately.
Looks like an ant.
But at that point, I think also not owning many GI Joes, I owned a lot of He-Man figures and Thundercats figures, and they're all very violent
Oh,
figures.
the humanity.
You know, their swords and their crazy stuff going on there. So it all comes down to me not even being able to choose the figure I want. I can't get the creepy dude. My mother decided that I need to get the more wholesome looking guy, the guy who looks like he'd be your uncle or something, and I think I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I resented having to get that figure and one of the absolutely incredible and cool Cobra figures. because my early collection is definitely made up of mainly Cobra figures. I think obviously she relented eventually and got me some cool looking Cobras. But yeah, so the figure that I think has grown on me the absolute most, has become my favorite figure ever, but started out as probably one of my least favorites, is Scoop. It's amazing, but I always seem to be able to bring every single topic back to Scoop somehow. But yeah, I think if not the creepy looking insect dude, I'm sure there were a whole bunch of other figures in that toy that I was way more excited about than getting the yellow jumpsuited guy with a camera.
Man, it shouldn't come as a surprise to me by now, but it still does.
Yeah.
You did it again, Rob. You did it again.
I did it.
Dog, you.
I managed to get it. I got brought around again. Back to this guy. But yeah, he's. I mean, what else can I say about him anymore? I mean, he's just my absolute favorite. I own several versions of him. I'm getting sometime from Postnet. I'm going to get another carded version of him. I'm very excited to see just another version of him. To see like, is there any? What are there any differences? I mean, I suppose there won't be, but it's just incredible. Like that he started out as a figure that and for certain I did not want this guy. He was boring as all hell. He comes with like an oversized pistol, and that's it. But his main equipment is this camera. But he obviously over the years he's grown on me, and he's become my absolute favorite figure ever in the world. But yeah, as a kid, with all the options I had, he was definitely not my choice. And on my mother's birthday, happy birthday, Mom! And you're right. Yeah, this is a great figure.
Thank you, Linda.
Oh,
Rob, I'm curious.
Figure.
You've pictured your childhood one, which is great. I'm loving that. But how's his thumb holding up?
His thumbs are still great.
Cracking?
No, it's absolutely incredible. Yeah, I mean, thankfully his left hand, I hardly ever put the gun in the hand because I think I didn't own the gun for most of his lifetime.
Yeah, it disappeared, and then I found one in a parts bin at Deer Hunter, a sort of retro shop.
And he finally managed to get his gun. So it's actually really only his right hand that ever saw any use. But no, it's still holding strong. He definitely holds onto the camera exceptionally well.
And we never had his microphone, so I just stuck a piece of black
wire in there, and it works so well. I had to picture this one as well because this is literally the actual figure that my mother bought me.
Nice.
Yeah, so Scoop, my top favorite figure that I started out hating, but have come to love more than any other GI Joe out of all of them.
Ever.
I did not know that you started off hating it. That's incredible, man.
Well, I mean, I've obviously told the story before, that she, needed a non-violent character. But I
thought maybe the allure was immediate. Like you got it out of its package and you were like, I like this. But no, was it a slow burn? Okay.
I think it was slow because he was one of my first GI Joes, and
yes,
I had been so used to owning like He-Man and Thundercats figures. These like really big burly guys with swords, and they could just crash through things. They were obvious heroes. Scoop is not an obvious hero.
But we didn't play obvious heroes initially. Do you remember, Rob? Like our very initial games when we first got to know each other were very much like anti-hero types. We were using Cobra figures typically as like T1000s and T800s.
It's also because my majority of my collection was Cobra stuff because I
had an affinity for Target.
The look. Yeah,
Target and Annihilator.
Because they're so sci-fi,
Then what was the turning point for Scoop, particularly?
I think it's like as over the years, I just got more into movies, and I just appreciated that his function is beyond the battlefield. He's not just a fighter. He's recording what's going on, and what he's doing is more than just fighting. It's providing information that's needed to be able to win the battle more than just shooting things.
The story I'm going to stick to is the one that Alistair would no doubt back me up on, and that's you just were trolling us. We were like, we are trying to take this very heavily fortified position, like arm up. So we each take our most like frontline looking GI Joe, arm him to the teeth. And what do? You pick Scoop with a freaking camera, no gun. Like what the hell, Rob? How's that going to help us?
It's going to make it easier to make jokes.
if I'm honest, I think the reason you settled on Scoop had a lot to do with the fact that like I owned the majority of our GI Joe toys,
Oh, for
and
sure.
like you would use my stuff, but you wouldn't want to use my stuff as your main. So you
Yeah.
had a small pool to choose from when it came to like your protagonist. And Scoop was like one of your very few like hero characters. He had a removable helmet, you could see his face. He wasn't a Cobra. So like Scoop became a natural choice for you because of necessity. You didn't want
I
to take
think
one
so.
of my figures and make him like the figure that you'd play with most often, get the most mileage out of. So
Absolutely. I was weird like that. I just wanted to play with my own toys, but I enjoyed playing with yours, but I didn't. Yeah. And I
you
couldn't
didn't
be
want them to be your
Snake Eyes,
main. You didn't want
you know?
to make that your most used toy and
Yeah.
hand me
So I
back a
think
toy that had loose joints. Like, thanks, Rob.
That's
Thanks
really
a lot,
good. You
pal.
lost his accessories.
You owe me one rock and roll, one DJ, one recoil. Yeah, no, I wasn't gonna be like that. But it was an unwritten
I
rule,
think
I
he
guess,
wasn't going to
that
be like
like
that.
yeah, exactly. Dial the clocks back, and I was bloody toy Nazi. You will return my toys to me
It's
in
the same condition.
same condition that I signed them off to you. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Hectic,
David was the
hectic.
same.
I probably no. There was a moment where I became that guy, where I started freaking out a little bit, and it was when I got a little bit older. But like back in the day, man, the neighborhood kids were always at my house.
You're
Like,
just having
Yeah.
fun, having good
But that's why you
times.
became
And-
like that, though.
I suppose. Look, breaks were not as frequent as you might think. I think everyone was quite respectful, but like, man, if I had a
Theft.
time capsule or time machine, was able to like peer back and just observe the way everyone was playing with my stuff, like taking guys and dragging them across the bricks, just things like that that make my skin crawl now. It'd be fascinating. But that perhaps
Oh,
is
and
a
I lost
topic
the
for
gun.
another day.
I was
Yeah, I
playing
lost
with it
a
in
gun.
the bath and it went down the hole.
I just pushed
Goodbye,
like
Snow
the
Serpent gun.
gigantic handle gun into the fist of a figure that has way too tight grip. I mean, like stuff like that freak me out now. Back then, we were oblivious.
I still like maintain that the integrity of the plastic was better when we were kids. Like I feel like
Oh, without a doubt.
we didn't break the thumbs as easily as kids.
But
I
even
don't recall
so,
having
like
too many
people
broken
would
thumbs.
do stupid things, like
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to like put the hand of an action figure on the roll bar of a vamp, for instance. Forget it.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
gonna happen.
Your spatial awareness sucks. Congratulations.
Or your just understanding of like the tolerances of that hard plastic sucks. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of kind of I don't know engineering acumen that you need to play with an O-ring GI Joe. Anyways,
So-
guys, this has been a fascinating tell-all. I hope anyone listening to this will jump into the YouTube comments section and throw up their top 5 toys that have kind of
Please do.
had an uptick in their popularity
Yeah, 'cause we
after
wanna
getting them.
see. Yeah,
I
we
hope
wanna
Yeah,
see which ones
because
you-
that could well be featured in an episode of GI Joburg in
What?
my favorite section. Rob picks a comment.
And I've also
Rob
got a
Pick's comment.
question for GI Joburg as well after that. So,
Whoa,
Hey.
that's
yeah,
wild.
so stay tuned for that.
So in 245, we presented our Operation Recall figures,
Mhm.
and a lot of people said that the figures that they wish that they could have seen in the GI Joe line. And keeping in spirit, at least with what I revealed today, with Big Bo being one of my favorites, I have to agree with Evan Classified when he says, "I know it can't be done, but I always wanted an official Rocky GI Joe figure. It's just a dream." I have to absolutely agree with that. I think a Rocky figure would have been absolutely amazing. I mean, it's weird for a guy who doesn't like most sports, but I absolutely adore the Rocky movies. So my absolute favorite films ever, I think, that aren't like by Stanley Kubrick or Michael Bay.
Now, you would take a
Um,
Rocky over, say, a Rambo.
I think so. I think a
Ooh.
Rocky would fit in a lot more. I think Rambo is to himself. Like he's a team to himself. So I think a Rocky would fit in much nicer, especially as like a celebrity figure in the Joe line. You could add him in there so much easier. I mean, like we have like football guys in the Joe line. I mean, come on, add an actual boxer for Big Bo to fight.
Yeah,
Can
well,
you
wasn't that
imagine a
kind of the
comic book
plan?
Big Bo versus Rocky? I mean, that would be so brilliant.
But I think that was the plan, though. That was always the plan. That it was meant
I'm
to
sure they
be
had intended on doing
Rocky.
something, Rocky or
Because
Rambo or something, because
yeah, no, there was a whole thing. I know if you dig
Oh
deep on
yeah,
the
look, it was
internet.
in the
Yeah.
the files. The year was it a yearbook? No, it was the Order of Battle. There was the entry on Rocky Balboa, and then there was a retraction saying that unfortunately Rocky cannot be a member of the GI Joe team. So yeah, absolutely, it was
it was so
going to
close.
happen.
We're so
And then
close
it
to
was
having
a
that in the
rights
line.
issue with another toy company, but whatever. I don't know the details off by heart, at least.
But still, I absolutely agree with Evan. Like a Rocky figure would have been so cool as a GI Joe.
And also what's his face? The bad guy from Rocky 3 or Rocky 4. Dolph Lundgren's character.
Oh,
Teddy
he'd be a
McGregor.
fantastic villain as well.
Yeah, dig that as a figure. As well.
Mr.
He'd be
T
cool.
as well would have been a cool one.
Clubber
Yeah.
Lang.
Just Clubber
Clubber
Lang, just make
Lang,
all of
yeah.
them.
Oh, Drago.
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 Something. But it's something. Yeah. Anyway.
I mean,
Well, we
I
got
like
another.
No, I was gonna say I liked Rocky so much that when they produced Rocky figures for some other line, I was very close to buying them. I think they were NECA or something else. I was
Oh,
very
shit,
close to
yeah.
just getting all of those Rocky figures because they were so good. They're
Didn't they
actually
put
very well
out-
made.
They put out a meat like a. It just
I think
on
so.
a bubble on a card. It was a piece of meat for Rocky to punch. Oh, that
something
was
for you
a
to
bold
punch, Rocky.
move. I'm gonna give that a round of applause. That was very, very bold.
Well played, toy industry. Well played.
Here's a lump of plastic.
So
Well, we got an item in our postbox, the pit, over this past week.
Oh my goodness.
Dustin Cordish might have missed the cutoff for our designer Joe, but he didn't miss the cutoff for Operation Recall. I think that only ends midway through May.
31st
So
of May.
end of May. Okay, so
Yeah,
he's got a
I've got it
character called
open.
Samson, who he gave us
Ooh.
an
I love the
illustration
toys.
of. Fantastic. Yes, very, very accurate. I mean, this illustration that Dustin has done of this figure is an O-ring figure.
He
Uh,
definitely
he-
took inspiration from my boom figure picture, I think.
Rivets and joint lines et al. Stuff like this makes me think, well, all of the work is cut out for, or not cut out. It's all done already.
Mm.
Like, what exactly do the former designers, writers, marketers, illustrators of Hasbro have to do in Operation
Give it a
Recall?
thumbs up.
Yeah, just give it a
basically
thumbs up.
green lighted. His code name is Solomon, file name William D. Straker, and his primary specialty is unconventional intelligence gathering. But my favorite
Oh.
little excerpt comes right at the end, gives us the reason for his code name. Some of the team members refer to him as a warrior monk or spooky commando, but he prefers his code name, inspired by the Jewish prophet Solomon. Not in any way does he feel a sense of self-importance, but the hope is that he can use the wise king's life as an example for his own. Yeah, nice little bit of insight there, and fantastic file card writing. Basically, this guy is designed as the answer to, or G.I. Joe's answer to Crystal Ball.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Nice. Very
Gorgeous
niche
picture.
and well-designed figure, man.
Much
Looks good.
appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Dustin.
You better submit it, Dustin.
Yeah.
I think
No,
it's
I
also
hope
the niche ones that are more interesting.
Have you
It's-
boys
it's-
submitted?
I haven't yet. I'm nearly finished with my third drawings. I've got a plan on how. No, like
I pity
see
you,
I've
Paul, because you represent that that urge in me to like neaten everything up and make it nice. But actually, that's their job. Our job is to
Yeah.
like submit these really crude, rudimentary, like a 13-year-old could have put it together presentations that
I
are
just wanna sell it
incomplete in
properly, that's
places.
all.
I
You
I
know,
know, and I wish
Yeah.
you well. I'm interested to see what approaches really work. I hope they show off the process, just like they did with Rutello, Carson's custom. Because
They're better.
well,
Well,
I want
that's
to
my
see
thing,
what
right?
submissions get the favor of the guys. but yeah, knowing Carson, it probably will be so well documented and up on 3D Joe's in all its glory, the whole process. So yeah,
My
what excitement.
my thing is like not to sound too, like, hey, I'm the best coach in basketball and like let's win, let's get the right message out there, whatever. But like seriously, I'm not like worried about one of my toys being made. What I mean by that is like I'm enjoying the excitement that is the journey of this. And that's why I'm saying I know it sounds like hokey, but I kind of feel like, hey, this is a great opportunity. It's kind of, in a lot of ways, it's a once in a lifetime, opportunity, or at least it's the
I
first
know
time it's
it,
happening.
it is it is a once in a lifetime
You know,
opportunity, I can assure you.
and that's the thing, and I'd like to just do it right. And I'm not doing it perfectly, but just want to do it right so that I know that whether I get it or not, I put my best foot forward, and I hope that when they receive it, it's entertaining for them. Like they look at it and they go, "Oh, this is actually a really fun concept. Really like this," and that it actually does take 15 or 20 minutes, or maybe an hour or 2 hours of their lives where they've like really taken this character, put it on a short list, and thought about it that far and taken it, close to where it needs to go, and then ultimately they've decided whether it's greenlit or not. But I just want it to be fun for them, like I want it to be a great experience for the team. And that's kind of my thing, and that's maybe something I wish to impart on everybody else that's like putting your stuff out there. Like, try not to think of the finish line so much as just making a cool toy, a toy that you would like to play with and that you think other people would find as exciting, namely the gentlemen that are looking at it, like, you have to find that balance, I suppose, between, you're not trying to people please, you're trying to make something that's fun and, but make it a cool experience, make it something that's fun, not only as a toy form, but as a entry. Anyway, enough of that, Paul. But yes, I'm totally entering. I've got my one sheet done. It's ready. So I just want to get my other two. My other one is like 70%, and then my third one is nowhere near being complete. So that would be my third one. I'm saving Flesh Wound for last. And yeah. And while I've got the mic, Mauler Joe asks, specifically aimed at Rob and myself, are we going to open those carded Joes that he sent us? Do we have any plans to open them?
Oh, I'm definitely going to open the Hydra Viper. Probably the
really?
Scoop I probably won't. Scoop I'm going to keep. Because I have two open scoops, so I don't want to open another one. So I think just the thought of having two open scoops and two closed scoops is absolutely amazing to me. You got to keep it balanced.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought I still had images.
Hydra Viper for sure. I'm going to do it.
For sure.
He's coming right out, and I'm going to throw him right into the toilet. He's going to have a great time diving.
Hopefully not the toilet that Paul shattered the earth over.
Yes, yeah, that took down my classified collection. But they fell flat.
Guys, I think that's our show. As always, we thank our Patreon Berg Force.
Hell yeah,
thank you, boys and girls, for keeping them, and undisclosed, for keeping the lights burning at GI Joburg HQ. You're awesome.
Absolutely appreciate
If you want to join the Berg Force, we have a Patreon. You can watch or listen or whatever you choose to this podcast live, or catch it on the replay 24 hours before it goes out to the public. Or just continue to support us by listening, subscribing, sharing, telling a friend. Hey, those South African guys actually have some fun things to say about GI Joe. You should listen to this show sometime.
They're pretty fun.
It always helps. Thank you.
And I don't know, I feel this is maybe a little bit prescient, but I kind of feel like the next episode should be which GI Joes aged poorly.
Whoa.
Which GI Joe toys.
You giving it away already?
Well, I can tell you right now that I've become the proud owner of a Swamp Fire, and two, in fact. Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. And it's just as mediocre as I ever thought it was.
Well, there's a nice preview for episode 247 for everyone who listened to the end.
All right, you criminals. I'll catch you both next week, and you'll catch us all next week. Thank you for listening, watching, subscribing, sharing. Thank you for dropping down in the comments section and giving us your top 5 lukewarm and then piping hot, smoking hot toys.
So good.
And thanks to the Berg Force currently in the chats.
Hell yeah, dudes. Thank you
See
everyone
a
for joining
Mark,
us.
a Gaz, Bob was there. Ryan, I caught you at one point. Awesome. Thanks, brothers. This never works because there's a delay. So we're never in sync. Oh, gross. We might not be in sync, but it's time to say bye, bye, bye. Bye, bye. Gross. We've not only scared people off from listening to this episode, but probably scared people off from ever listening to us ever again. So,
Hell
we're
yeah.
out. Bye, boys.
Bye.